their suffering, love Jesus, and find their joy in God's divine goodness. And he began to compare his own heart and mind and emotions to what he was reading. Of course, that's not necessarily a bad thing to do. In fact, it could actually be a good thing for a Christian to do, and could very well result in a healthy encouragement to that Christian to loosen their heart's grasp on the pleasures of this world and cling more tightly to Christ. For Trent, though, the effect of comparing himself to the description in that book was dramatically different. Instead of being challenged to press on in faithfulness, Trent was terrified. Why? Because he didn't see in his own life the kind of joy that he read about in that book, and so he began to question whether he was really a Christian at all. From there, the corrosion deepened rapidly. Over the next few months, Trent fell into a hopeless vortex of introspection and self-judgment. No matter how often or how fervently we exhorted him to look to Christ and find peace in the gospel, Trent lost his footing. In the end, he simply declared that he couldn't possibly be a Christian because he didn't have the joy or the passionate love for Jesus that a Christian ought to have. And he left the church and ultimately the faith. Don't get me wrong. Of course, not every Christian's wrestling with assurance is the same as Trent's, and thank God not every Christian's struggle ends so catastrophically either. But I'm also quite sure that Trent's struggle with the question, am I a Christian, really? Is one that dogs many Christians, if not every Christian, at one point or another in their lives. I say that not just as a truism or a throwaway hunch, but as the considered fruit of dozens of conversations I've had across coffee shop tables about this very issue. I'm sure the coffee joints in Louisville don't know it, but they've made a ton of money from me talking with people over the years about assurance of salvation. I wish I could say that the questions people have and the doubts with which they struggle are all the same. That would make it easy for me as a pastor. Then I could fix that one biblical misunderstanding, answer that one theological question, and all would be well. But the questions and doubts are never exactly the same, and they are almost never simple. Sometimes, yes, a person's struggle with assurance is born of a particular unanswered theological question, and it's wonderful to be able to answer that question and watch everything begin to fall into place. But sometimes, a lack of assurance is far more complicated than one specific unanswered question. Sometimes it's more emotional than rational. Sometimes it's born of a whole theological worldview that's off by just a few catastrophic degrees. Sometimes there's no identifiable reason for it at all, and a person is just gripped by an existential dread that they will prove to be, as the old confessions put it, a superficial professor. To me, the question of assurance of salvation, or to be more precise, the lack of assurance, is a particularly unwelcome, terrifying, and even surprising presence in the Christian experience, like the black-robed figure at Prince Prospero's ball. After all, at its heart, Christianity claims to be all about certainties, not questions or doubts. We know Jesus is the Son of God. We know he died on the cross as a ransom for many. We know he was resurrected from the grave, and we know he offers forgiveness to everyone who trusts in him. Our entire worldview is built on certainties, both historical and theological, and that's what sets Christianity apart from most other religions of the world. They have questions. Christianity has answers. They have enigmas. Christianity has truths. They explore. Christianity declares. What's more, the biblical authors themselves write with a rock-solid sense of certainty that seems to go deeper than that particular things actually happened. Their certainty appears to be not just historical, but existential, even personal. They seem confident about not only the facts of Christianity, but also those facts' redemptive significance, and they seem sure that they themselves have been swept up in that redemption. What's more, these authors even seem to expect their own certainty to translate to other believers.